And there's no looking back. It says, okay, sorry, this is a startup and we just delivered this product. You have to produce in masses, day one, which is by itself is a different art. And that's the constraint you get into when you are working in this particular environment. And there is a lot of other leverages point. You have a lot of leverages in this particular model. I think that somebody should really think about it, and I'm pretty sure that you can think about a better model than this. But this is one of these models, at least we have proven that we can make it work and make the impact. But I'm pretty sure there are a lot of other models, which is people can try it out. So don't look at one model. I always say people to look at it, multiple different models, and pick one which is more suitable to you.
Prem, I have one for you. So you talked about a lot about your career, different positions, different companies that you started. But I know you are very active outside of these corporate culture as well. You are associated with many non-profit organizations, done a lot of volunteer work, etc. What I want to know is what impact, directly or indirectly, it had on your where you are today, in terms of success, in terms of your growth. What is it? Is there any correlation? Is there any impact at all? If there's any, what is it?
It's a very good question. Actually, I always believe that people always think about it is that giving back to the community, okay, is only after you make tons of money, okay, or you have a lot of those things. But the thing which you learn right from the very beginning, I'm talking about a long time back, that it doesn't need to be financial thing. You can always give time. You can always work on the organizations. You can always help in many different aspects of it. So I think I'm involved. I'll give you a little bit of my involvement in some of the things. There is a Jain temple in Milpitas. Okay, I was the president of that organization in 1981. Actually, I was the founder president of that particular organization. We called JCNC, and that was a long time back. I was working in BNR at that particular time, as a matter of fact, when we started this. The idea was to have something for this community to make sure that there is a place to worship. We didn't have the temple. The temple was only built in 2000. Okay, and it's 12 years of that particular temple. And since that particular time, 1981, I'm constantly involved one way or the other, helping it out as a volunteer. And and work behind the scene to make sure that the other people grew up as a leadership and then continuously run this particular thing. We also have a education thing where we have Hindi classes, we have Gujarati classes, we have language classes, we have a bunch of other stuff. Later on, I think ICC start, doing in a much bigger scale, which is also very good for the community locally here. So that was my involvement at that level. I'm also involved, there is another umbrella organization called Jain, which is the Jain's associations in North America. I'm the current first vice president of that particular organization. I organized a convention in 1991 at Stanford, which was very successful for the Jain community in North America. I'm doing another one in Detroit next year, and I just came back from Detroit actually 2 days ago. Over the weekend I was there to planning it out, this next one. The expectation is we'll have 5,000 people come into this one and attend from all over the world. So that is one. The second one I'm involved is the BITS planning. Like I mentioned to you, we are doing this project we did BITS Connect 1.0 in 2003. After a few years later, we are doing this BITS Connect 2.0. And the idea there is again to give it back whatever is possible in terms of technologies, the time, the knowledge, whatever it is possible. I'm also involved with universities. I'm on the advisory board for Cal Poly. By the way, I didn't even go to Cal Poly. And I was in their National Council for Development. And the reason for that is because we created a center there which is called Nonviolence Center. The idea was that this world is so violent, as you can see it. And we used to ask the question is, 3 things I think which is killing this world is the greed, the violence, and the pain which is being created out of these 2 factors. Which is, you can see on the, the soldiers which is coming back from the war. Look at some of these, distractions which you see it. So the idea was that to create this Ahimsa Center, which is Nonviolence Center in Cal Poly, to teach the high school teachers, okay, so they can teach, doesn't matter what subject they teach, they use the examples of nonviolence. And so far it's very successful, it's 6-7 years, every year we teach n number of teachers, doesn't matter which school they come from. And the idea was to teach them. So for example, teachers are teachers. Draw pictures which show the peaceful environment. Why you have to show that person is standing with a gun and shooting somebody and showing a war and stuff like that. Teaching a math. Give examples of the math which is non-violent. Think about non-violence. Not just in speaking, not in just doing, but also in your thinking. So that was the idea in this particular thing, and I'm very happy that it's making good progress. And we also do, by the way, Gandhian conference every 2 years. And we invited a bunch of people from India. And here, Martin Luther King's daughter and a bunch of other. And the idea here is, again, to promote nonviolence. So one of the theme which we had one time in one of the conferences is that if Ken Lay would have been following the non-violence principles or principles of non-greed in that particular fashion, what would have happened to Enron? Think about it, if Bush really being learned about the non-violence principles, what he would have done in Iraq. So those are the kind of thinking which goes into our mind to say that can we really make this world, whether it's your food, whether it's your thing, we don't promote anything. By the way, we are also working with the federal government to create a bill to work in schools so that they can serve plant-based diet. Okay, plant-based diet in school. Not to use the religious aspect of it, but plant-based diet is being proven by many, many people that it's the best diet you can have. I don't know, some of you probably seen it. There are restaurants now opening it up to sell the raw food. So we are also working in this particular aspect with the federal government, and we also work with the Jewish community, by the way, strong partnership, where the swastik symbol, which is used in our every religious aspect of it, that they write a white paper to say what was done by Hitler is not exactly what we do, and teach their community, okay, which is very important. Because education is one of those things, because otherwise you see the swastik symbol there and you see the other one. It's not exactly the same, by the way, we know that, but the other people don't. So we wanted to make that difference. So then there is obviously a work with Maitri here, which is a local organization for the shelter for the battered women, So I wanted to make sure that find time to do multiple things. Obviously, last year when I retired, I said I can do probably more, a little bit of those. Then I found myself into a little bit of trouble right now because doing a startup and participating in a lot of these activities is difficult to do. But my mindset is that you have to prioritize, and these things has to take priority in your life. My startup is not the only priority.
Any questions? Prem, you talked about MPLS, referring to your band of four musketeers, if you recall. Is there something that, it's kind of, I'm trying to fathom being an entrepreneur, it's kind of difficult to have the same mindset among four people for a longer period of time, doing multiple startups, and I was kind of wondering, you kind of look back and said, we were kind of shared the same vision. What brought you guys together? Doing this repeatedly and judging how you react and how you say it, you guys enjoyed the ride, looks like. So that's a pretty significant achievement. Monetary things aside, being able to do it again, looking forward to it, I think that's what it means to me at the end of the day. Or to quote Buffett, he said, success to him is to work with people he likes to work with, and there's not too many people blessed with that. So can you shed some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I want to make sure that, working together by four of us, it does not mean that we always all agree. We have a lot of disagreements, actually, which is we think is good for anything which you do. Because if everybody agrees, you don't have four mind thinking about different things. We argue, we fight, we shout, all natural phenomena which you see it. But one thing is, I think, which is we have learned, is that once we decided to go forward, we are all 200% there with that particular idea. Even if I may not agree with that particular thing, say when we were analyzing it, but once we decided to go together, I said, look, whatever it takes, I'm going to put my 100% into this one to make it sure that we all, and then I try to convince myself that there are many ways of doing things, and nobody really knows the perfect path to the success. And you need to all find the path, And if you fall down, you stand up and run again. I mean, that's a philosophy which you use across the board. And good thing is that when you're working together, you know everybody's shortcomings, you know everybody's strength. I think the idea here is also is not to find fault in anybody, is to look at the weaknesses and then fill the hole. So we don't say that, okay, you screwed up this. We say, we screwed up this. Okay, let's fix it. So we always take pride in this, that if you're going to mess it up, we're all together to mess it up, and we'll all take the, the blame that we messed it up. And other thing is very important is to understand the nature of each individual personality, because we have 4 different personalities. Okay, there's nothing in common in a lot of sense. Like my 3 other partners, they don't hike, they don't go climbing mountains, they don't go, there's different habits everybody has. But only thing is in common is, we said we are going to work together, and just like you see in the beginning of any games, you pull your hands together and says, we're all together and we are going to make this game successful. I think which is what really takes, and the rest is really, I think, is history. I mean,
any other questions? Let me ask one technical question again.
Sure.
Back. So, seems like in the networking world for a number of years, it seems like there were no opportunities, but last few years has shown a number of companies, whether it's software-defined networking, open flow, seems that they will create disruptions, right? And it seems like, I mean, on whatever I've read also a little bit here and there, all those you said don't believe, you're also combining some of those aspects. And so what is your insight and take from that perspective? Not whatever you want to share, nothing to do with your company or in general, because you have seen obviously so many transformations, right?
so like I said, I think in even my talk, the technology piece is always, difficult to predict in reality when there's multiple directions which is going in. I think one thing is good that if there is a transformation is occurring in any part of the industries, there is opportunity comes up, and that's the reason you see a bunch of startups. Everybody has a different interest. The programmability aspect of it came more from the universities initially, if you think about it, because they thought the network was too rigid, they don't have the opportunity to break something inside because the programmability aspect was not there. So Stanford, Berkeley, a lot of professors growing up, and some of them are part of the STN group, and some of them are part of the team, which is they were thinking about it. Because if you go and ask the enterprise customers, he says, I don't have people to program this thing. Give me something to simplify what I have, and make sure it's plug and play, and make sure it integrates, and make sure I can deploy it much faster, and make sure it can grow very fast. This is what the requirement is. And obviously they always ask the question is, can you make it cheaper, can you make it cost effective, can you make sure you save power, all that kind of thing. But they'll never ask you the questions, is give me the programmability. Where is the programmability and these aspects is coming from? 2 angles. There are companies which is building cloud stack. And they say, I want to control the way the stuff flows in the cloud. And the second one is coming out from the point of view of, the mega data center which is people are building. Like, Microsoft, like Amazon, like Google, like other companies. They say they want to control this particular environment, okay? The thing is that, again, a technology is only a solution to a particular problem at a particular instant, okay? It has to evolve. And whenever a new technology comes in, I don't know if you guys were involved in the fiber channel, I was giving you the example. It took 10 years before it got adapted. We developed the technology called FCOE, okay, just a few years back, in 2008. And this is 4 years later. The penetrations of the FCOE is increasing, but it's not that everybody adopted and threw away everything which was there before. In this transformation, the interesting part is, there's 2 mindsets, which is, people are going, there is a old vendors, which is, obviously the people which is in this particular vendors, vendors which is shipping products. And there is a new class of vendors which is saying, okay, I can build the overlay on top of the network, whatever networking exists, okay? So I think both have their own problems. The best thing is that none of them by itself is sufficient, so there has to be a change in both sides, okay? The scalability is not possible unless you really think about it, what is that really means. A lot of people in these new startup companies are trying to scale, to say I can scale this to 1,000 servers. When they ship the product, they only support 1,000 servers. I mean, 1,000 servers to 100,000 servers is a long way to go. I mean, sure, someday it will happen. You know, I mean, we keep on working on the technology. So my point is, SDN, OpenFlow, I think if you are an entrepreneur, you watch it. You look at it, the benefits of it. To me, I'm not against any technologies. I think to me, I'm a technology neutral. I say, take the best technology which is available, solving the problem, and build the product. Okay? Now, the good thing is that if you can come out first, I think you can set the trend in the market. If you are going to be the second and third, you better think 3 times. Because once somebody is rooted somewhere, it's very difficult to unroot, doesn't matter which big companies you're talking about. So it's very important to watch out these new transformation going on, which is to me is an opportunity for a lot of you also to look into this particular area. And like I said, you know, the things are converging. Security is a big issue. There's a lot of opportunity. I mean, you know, nothing is secure. By the way, somebody can claim that this is the best secure thing I have. I haven't seen yet one. Because by the time you secure certain things, the new problem shows up. This is our daily affairs. I mean, it doesn't change anything. All you need to make sure is secure enough. So a lot of this word enough is very important in a lot of things. You never design the perfect product because you will never ship it. Okay? You design the product which is good enough to capture your few customers. And once you have few customers, it's a way. You know, you get that customer says, wow. And then the other customer says, what am I missing? I need to get into that bandwagon. Timing is very, very critical in any product life cycle. If you're too early, like David System was. Because now if you have the David System product, when the people are integrating their IT department, okay, they used to report to 3 different CIOs, now they all report to, they're all merging together even at the lowest level because there's no voice by itself. Voice is integrated with data. But then at the same time, you need to make sure you create the training programs for those people who are going to find themselves resisting the transformation of this technology. So there are a lot of lessons which you can learn out of this particular example. So don't be technology. We did the company was based upon the best technologies. And I'll tell you, I mean, you know, I feel that after that, we had, very good technologies. It was not as good as the one which we did in the David System, but the success came out in the market as well as the impact in the industry was from the technologies which is really solving the problem of the customers so that it can be operational. Very important word is operational. Because if it's not operational, you can have a great technologies, it doesn't really matter. All right? I think we'll stop this.
Yeah, so with the last, I think you touched, you said there are a lot of opportunities. Maybe you can, for some of our aspiring entrepreneurs who want to start next networking this bank company here.
I don't know if the,
I said networking this bank company, someone can start.
No, but I think you have to look at it where your strengths are. You look at it where you are in this particular segment in your life cycle. To me, it's never too late to start something as long as you can take the risk. Because once you dip into it, you really enjoy it. You cannot enjoy it by just reading it and doing it. And there's no recipe. To me, people ask me, what is the recipe for success? I said, there's no recipe. It's you play by day, and you adjust. Only thing which works you need to be transparent. You need to be honest to yourself. Never tell any lie to a customer because they will never forget. Okay? Always tell the truth, and you won't believe it, those customers will become your best customers. When they know the fact, they know that everybody makes mistakes and everybody has bugs in it and everything else, but you cannot lie and hide the fact. Once you tell them, they know you can fix it. It's not like impossible. And don't promise anything which you cannot deliver. I think that's very important, even to your family members or even to your friends. Okay, it's important to promise only which you know that you can definitely deliver. It's another lesson which I learned a long time ago. Anyway, we can talk forever. Thank you very much for